Musicals. I'm Esme,
And I'm Nell.
and today we're going to be talking about the Great British Bake Off musical.
My favorite musical.
My favorite new British musical of the last. When did Matilda come out?
2014,
Yeah, so like
2011.
10 years.
Yeah, something like that.
Before that, we have a tiny bit of news because there's been very little news this
There's
week.
been one big piece of news this week, which is culminating today as of recording.
Yes.
I imagine that like in the coming days there's going to be a ton of
Mhm.
musicals news. I think they're all holding off.
They're all waiting for. Are you holding the program?
Yeah, it still smells really good. It's like my best smelling program. It's just got a really nice scent to it.
Do you take it out and
Oh,
every so often?
yeah,
Anyway, so there's one massive
we
piece
bought.
of.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
We bought this fucking incredible incense for the kitchen. Michael bought
Yeah.
this incredible incense for the kitchen. I can name drop him because he wants to be on this podcast.
Oh yeah, we need to work out what's going on with that.
Yeah. Um, but it's this black cherry incense from
Ooh.
Asda, and it smells so fucking good. Like annoyingly so.
Mm.
It's just so strong and good. Anyways, continue.
Anyway, news. Yeah, so the general election happening today in the UK. Big deals for us. Please, this is not. I'm not even going to say please vote because it would be irrelevant by the time this comes out about voting. But I hope everyone who's listening who's registered to vote did vote.
Yeah,
I went.
we're looking at I think Labour with 431 seats.
They're calling it the super
Or somewhere around
majority.
that mark. Yeah.
Yeah, the largest majority of a party since like the 1980s. No, no, not 1980s, 1800s.
Yeah, it's something ridiculous. Like the Conservatives had a huge majority since 2019.
Yeah,
Um, but this is looking to like be double that. And that's not to say Labour's a great party.
no.
Keir Starmer, please shut your mouth sometimes. Like it's so annoying to have to be like, this is the best option we have at defeating the Tories. And yes, it is Keir Starmer right
Yeah.
now. But yeah, vote.
I
I can't tell you who to vote for, but
no,
if I could.
if I could. Um, it would not surprise anyone how I voted, probably.
Yeah.
Isn't it looking like there's some polls where it's like Lib Dem might actually be our opposition now, which is absolutely crazy.
There is a genuine thing of if the Conservatives are the opposition, they will
Mm.
push Labour to do worse.
Yeah.
Whereas if the Lib Dems are the opposition, they'll hold Labour more accountable. I think that's a very like 2D view of politics.
Yeah.
Where it's like, well, this is the better party. This is less right wing, so therefore they're
Mm.
good.
Mm.
Not true. But yeah,
What
I'm staying up all night tonight to watch the results with my
oh,
flatmate who also studies politics. It's very fun.
I'm also staying up for it. I'm very excited to see what's going to go down tonight. I just yeah, it's very like I hate to say it, but can we stop living through unprecedented times? Because that's what we are at with
Yeah.
this election. What's on stage put out a tweet with the Starlight Express image for some reason today talking about going to the polls.
Yeah, and next stop the polls, you
Oh
know?
yeah, and like you could skate down there to get there quicker. Could you imagine if I'd rollerblade into the polls?
You can't rollerblade, first of all.
First of all, me on rollerblades would be a public health safety concern. Anyway, moving on to something actually as quite political. There was a protest last night at SAFs as of recording this, or the night before. Basically, I'm going to read out what the group wants because I don't know if I fully understand it. Um,
I think it's kind of a ridiculous thing.
yeah.
Because whitewashed is, I don't think it's the word they wanted to
Think it
use.
is. Yeah.
Yeah, because whitewashed implies that the women that the musical stuff is focusing on were not white, but have been made white in this story
Yeah.
for various reasons. When that's not true. Like there is an element of, yes, a lot of protests may have been originated by non-white women, or that the biggest parts of change came from non-white women, etc., etc. I'm not going to get into the history of suffragettes because I could talk for hours.
Yeah.
But I think arguably it's more important to show how white it was at the time.
Like, I think, again, I've not seen Suffs. I've listened to a small part of it, but this is just from what I've heard people saying. And also I've done some Googles about who's like included in the like who are they like historically portraying all that kind of stuff. Ida B. Wells is a featured character. And the show does talk about Alice Paul, who I think it's about, her racism. So it's not like they're like, oh yeah, white people were the only ones in the suffragette movement, you know?
Yeah, but I think it's important, I guess. Like there is a reason that people talk about like white women got the vote at this time,
Yeah.
black women got it at this time, other ethnic groups got it at a different time.
Yeah.
And it is purely because like, it was the 1800s, yes,
Yeah.
early 1900s. White women were racist.
Yeah.
Like they were like, yeah, we deserve the vote, they don't. And I
Yeah.
think that's an important thing to like, even if you're not going to explicitly say it,
Mm.
because I think it would be worse
Yeah.
if you had like, oh, what is her name? I don't even know if she's in the musical. I don't know that much in depth about subs. Is it Emily Pankhurst? Or whoever it is that gets
British.
killed by the horse?
You're thinking about British suffragette
Yeah.
history. But
They
yeah.
talk about the woman who gets killed by the horse.
Do they?
I've seen something about them talking about it.
Oh, okay. So they do talk about Emily Pankhurst.
Maybe. But
No,
yeah, I think I'm British. But like, if you had a white character, a real person who was white,
yeah.
be played by a black actress,
Yes.
but not in the sense of just colorblind casting, as in the sense of trying to claim that this woman was black.
Yeah.
I think it becomes weirder or worse.
Mm.
Because then if you're looking and you say, and then white women got the vote at this time, their friend who has been with them for this entire musical didn't get the vote. That's
Yes.
strange. Why didn't that happen?
Yes.
Like I think as like horrid as it is,
Mm.
I think it's important to show how racist history was.
Oh, yeah, no, I think it's important, yeah.
Like when we talked about Hamilton, it was one of those things that we were like, it's kind of weird. There is very, very little mention of slavery in Hamilton,
There's about
apart from the people who were abolitionists.
yeah, there's like three mentions of it, and it's always as like slavery is happening, but we're fighting to get rid of it.
Yeah, and I think like that's the kind of reason you got all these people being like, my
Hey.
babies, John Lawrence and Hamilton, they're in love. They're in love, and they freed the slaves. That didn't happen.
Guys, please read a book.
Or that book.
Oh my god,
which I think
Alexander
I
and Eliza.
that I had.
I think you read out the synopsis on
I did.
the episode.
Yeah, I like brought it out when I was back home. But it just has a line where they're like, the Skylar's didn't own any slaves. I was like, yeah, he did.
They traded them. That's how they made their money.
Yeah.
Hate to break this to you guys.
But anyways, all that to say, I don't think whitewash is the right word to use.
Yeah.
Like, I think if you wanted to say it's too white-centric, that is a very valid point.
But
like,
also,
I think it would have been pretty easy, especially if you have like Malala on as your producer.
yes.
I think Suffs could have been really, again, I don't know about Suffs. Maybe they are doing this now. I have no idea. I think it could have been really interesting to show like multiple different like waves of feminism.
That could be an interesting idea
Like
from you.
have your like original suffragettes, have like the 80s free love feminists,
Yeah.
early 2000s, like Me Too movement, modern day feminists. And like have you could have like 5 for each era. And have
Yeah.
a pretty big cast.
Suff's
Have them
cast is
singing the
massive,
same songs. Yeah. I feel like that's an interesting story, and I think Suffs could have been that. And if it had, I probably would be really interested in Suffs. But
you
I'm
know,
not here to say Suffs is the most like progressive musical
progressive.
in the world. It definitely isn't. in
I
Hillary
don't.
Clinton's
Yeah,
musical.
like that's the thing. Like I saw someone say there's a lot you can be like someone be like stuff's like as a text is pretty good. If you're gonna be annoyed about something about stuff, be annoyed about Hillary.
I think it might also be a. This is really rude to the protest. Like, I'm not disagreeing with the protesters. I think you should protest things, especially stuff on Broadway, because Broadway is a business. You know, they're just going to want to make money, and ultimately that can lead to, erasure and whitewashing in shows.
I think when musical theatre and protest intersect, it's so interesting. So this is very interesting to me.
Yeah, but I think, like, I don't think it's wrong to protest that Suffs is like overwhelmingly white.
Oh, this is what you were saying. Yeah.
Um, like I think obviously there is an argument to be made about why is it that only the white suffragette movement gets a Broadway musical.
Yes.
That is a valid point to protest.
Yes.
But I don't think, it's not like a one in, one out system. Like that, you don't have to say close up so we can open a better feminist musical.
Yeah.
I think it's just, there is there are clearly problems with softs. Like I'm not denying that. I think there are multiple problems with softs. But I don't think that one of them is what they are protesting. I think that is an issue,
Yeah.
but ultimately that's not what softs has ever been about.
No.
So the reason I had to defend the protesters first is because then I was going to immediately follow up by saying, I don't think they have media literacy.
Oh, I don't. No.
Because
I don't think they have media
it's like the
literacy.
thing of if you have a ton of white, also I know that like the whole cast of Sus isn't white, by the way.
Yeah.
I should make it clear. I know that it's not an all white cast. Um, but if you have a story that is focusing on mainly white women, and it's the same problem that Hamilton had,
Yeah.
where it's if you cannot infer that maybe there is something being said about race here, even if it isn't overtly said,
Mm.
which I believe again, like they bring up the racism and stuff. So,
Ida B. Wells is a featured character.
like, surely they address it or it's mentioned.
Yeah, it is. I've listened to the cast recording, and yeah, it is.
I think it's one of those things where it feels like they have read a synopsis and been like, oh, it's about white women,
Mm.
like white feminists.
Mm.
Well, why isn't it about black feminists? Cancel sucks.
I think there is space for a more nuanced discussion about white feminism and stuffs, but I don't think this is the way to lead it, you know?
Yeah. Like I think if you want to critique the race, like racism and the race in stuff,
Yeah.
fine. Like that is a very valid thing to critique.
Mm.
And there are multiple like things you can critique about it. Why is that what gets put on stage? Why is that what Hillary Clinton wants to produce?
Yeah.
Etc. Etc. But I mean, you read me the statement from one of the cast members.
Oh yeah. Do you want me to show you
Yeah.
again? Because it was really interesting. Let me get up her name.
And
I
I
think
think that might be influencing me like slightly about
that's
it.
not the same person. Their name Lila. Is that Lila?
Lila.
Lila Drew, via her Instagram story. I got this off of Twitter from Softcast Updates. She's a black woman. I wasn't going to post about this, but F it. Since you want to talk about erasure, thanks for trying to erase the work I did in the show. Now, I definitely know nobody cares that I'm bearing my soul and my ancestral pain on stage every single night, especially the people who claim to be fighting for us, but in the same breath say they want to cancel one of the only shows on Broadway that addresses Black erasure. Extremely hard to get through that show, so thanks. It seems that we've forgotten the real enemy in this fight. You want to protest, you want to make a difference, do something about the people you claim to fight for.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the use of the word erasure in
Mm.
or whitewashing in a show where there are Black people and their stories featured isn't the right word to use.
Yeah. Well, I'm reading the synopsis on Wikipedia.
Of stuffs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, as the march approached, this is like in the kind of first paragraph of the Act One synopsis,
Yeah.
towards the end. As the march approaches, Southern delegations object to Black women marching alongside white women in their respective delegations, not wanting to derail the march. Alice elects to compromise by setting up a separate colored woman delegation. Prominent African-American journalist and activist Ida B. Wells confronts the organizers to declare her intention to march with her own state delegation and harshly criticizes Alice for being willing to compromise with the march Southern backers at the expense of Black women.
Yeah. It's in like one of the first songs I listened to was this conversation.
Yeah, which was Wait My Turn.
Yeah.
And then on the morning of the march, Ida runs into her friend and fellow Black activist Mary Church Terrell along with her daughter Phyllis. Ida favors direct actions to draw attention, while Mary prefers an approach of dignified agitation, working
Yeah.
within the system to fight for colored women's rights, which causes a rift between them. So they both march with a hope of uplifting her voices.
Yeah.
Like, that's very early on.
Yeah. And the musical centered around Alice Paul, and she's not presented as a good person in this. She's presented as rude and willing to get her way no matter what that subsides, no matter how that hurts. Like, she has very much tunnel vision.
Yeah. Like, Wait My Turn reprise is Mary argues with Ida about publicly condemning the war as both express their fatigue over constantly fighting for Black women's rights and being ignored at every turn.
Yeah.
Like, clearly, it's a pretty prominent part of the plot.
Wait, let me check something quickly.
Ida and Mary celebrate their success, but sadly agree that Black women will still be prevented from voting just as Black men. But this encourages them to keep faith that the movement will continue. Like, okay, the entire final paragraph of the plot, like the end of Act 2, it's just like Alice pictures the NWP's next goal of getting the Equal Rights Amendments, the era, passed. However, the entire group is exhausted and decides to quit organizing. Doris plans to publish her memoirs about her experiences in the movement. Rusa wants to act on Broadway. Lucy decides to retire from activism, though she assures Alice she values their shared fight. In the 1970s, an aged but still active Alice meets the young activist Robin, played by the actress who played Phyllis, a representative from the National Organization for Women who seek Alice's support on radical movement. Alice disagrees with what Robin's call for an intersectional approach, preferring the singular focus of the era, but is taken aback when Robin accuses her of being behind in her ways and points out how the 19th Amendment didn't make voting easier for Black women. Realizing she has become the old fogey that Carrie was to her, Alice accepts that she will not live to see the end of the fight for equality, but declares that it will happen one day so long as people maintain their resolve. So it's addressed at the end.
It's addressed at the start.
Like, exactly. Have your issues with stuff. I'm not going to pretend stuff is like.
I'm not defending Hillary Clinton.
Even good.
I'm not defending Hillary Clinton.
This is the kind of musical I would really love.
Yeah.
Like, I just read that and I was like, you know what, I might like Sops.
You know what, if it came here, we'd probably go and have a good time.
Oh, yeah. But
I don't want to defend Hillary Clinton because I don't like Hillary Clinton. However,
I think it's one of those things that has clearly, like, been addressed.
Yeah.
And yeah, somehow looked over by these protesters.
I want to know whether or not they actually physically saw the show before they decided to protest it or just, like, heard about it through a grapevine. They do have a timeline about, like, suffragette history. I mean, like, the lead character and feminist example in Suffs is Alice Paul. The real story is that Alice Paul excluded Black women from her organization. I know! It's addressed in the musical!
To be fair, I kind of get that bit. Like, I guess it's not exactly stated that, at least from my understanding from the Wikipedia synopsis.
They are normally quite reliable, those synopsises, though.
Yeah, let me look. I guess, yeah, like the bit that the Southern delegations are the ones objecting and Alice has to compromise. She's like, I want the Black woman to march with us, but if the Southern delegations don't.
Yeah.
I get, yes, but also, it's a Hillary Clinton musical about the suffragette movement.
Exactly.
Like, if you're coming in, it's like the same with Hamilton. If you're going there to learn your history,
it can be a good starting point, and you could go, oh, this person's interesting, let me find out more about them.
In 2020, the League of Women Voters declared it important to acknowledge the racism of Kat and other white suffragists to face the hard truths about the League's founding a century earlier. But you won't find any of these truths in Suffs. I think you do.
I want to know what they saw.
Instead, Suffs tells a whitewashed version of history. The whitewashing in the show is a dangerous lie because it reinforces several ideas. That the suffrage movement wasn't deeply racist, that white women's stories are more worthy of taking center stage, and that white women are always aligned with progressive causes. These are comforting fictions for some white women, but this sort of disinformation betrays a younger generation of would-be feminists and leads us all down a dangerous path. pretty much all of that is addressed, apparently, at the end of the show.
Yeah. I don't know what the end goal is here though with Souths because it's out there. It's on Broadway. It's won Tonys. It probably will run until at least January, it's looking like. What are they trying to accomplish with this? Because if they're trying, are they trying to raise awareness around the real history of it? Because that's an interesting point. Are they trying to shut down Souths?
Yeah, it seems a bit.
What is like they don't have a clear aim to their protesting.
They have both on the Learn More section. They have
Yeah.
both Ida B. Wells Barnett and Mary Church Terrell,
Mm.
who are both characters in the show.
Yeah. Oh, and then
Like,
they have interesting.
it's like this is a good cause objectively.
Yeah, raising awareness about the black suffragettes, very interesting. Good cause. I'm for that.
Like, I don't think any of this goes overly unaddressed by stuff.
I also, I just, what's their point here? What's the end goal that you want to do? If I'm looking at your website and clicking around, I should know by the end of it what you want to do.
Yeah, it feels almost staged.
Can you imagine Hillary Clinton stage?
But, it's, I don't know. I don't know much more. I think it's a bit ridiculous. And it just feels like a stupid thing to try and raise awareness about. Sounds rude. Like, I don't think that the erasure of black women is a stupid thing.
Yeah.
But like it sucks. Multiple other things to complain about. Multiple
Yes.
other shows on Broadway or like going on in the world right now that have bigger issues than this.
Yeah. I mean, just looking through Twitter because I saw a tweet that said something like, you'd think the producing credit of one Hillary Rodham Clinton would be more noteworthy to get up in arms up over resus, but to each their own.
Yeah, like get angry over Hillary Clinton. Like I saw people being like, you want me to hope that Hillary War Criminal Clinton's musical is gonna get Best Musical at the
Yeah.
Tonys.
Yeah.
I was like, when you put it like that,
I
no.
agree. Someone else said it's obviously completely valid to think that Suffs is ineffective at depicting racism within the suffragist movement, and the way Black voices were suspended of for the purpose of political convenience / expenditure, but that is very much within the show, and that's from someone who's seen it.
Yeah. Like I think it's a valid thing to talk about and to bring
Yeah.
attention to. And I'm not gonna pretend like Suffs does an adequate job at it. Again, haven't seen it. Read the Wikipedia synopsis.
I've also listened to a bit of it, and I make criticisms of some of it, but it's not like in story. Phantom cast change.
Yeah.
We're getting a new Phantom. The understudy Christine is being moved up to alternate Christine. And there's a new Carlotta. I believe that's right. And Meg.
And a new Meg. And I believe new managers.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Phantom, like clockwork, this time every year they decide to add and get a new cast in.
It's a like hard show.
No, I also like it. Like I understand why it does it, but Phantom's like because it's such a long runner, it's very like efficient, if that makes sense, of like getting new people in and getting them on in the show in like quite a quick time. Because they start in a couple of weeks.
They've also got a ton of new ballerinas, I want to say, and some new ensemble members. But I would not be able to tell you who is new and who is staying off the top of my head. I'm very sorry.
If it were your sister.
If my sister was here, she could tell you.
Person by person. Avenue Q they're doing a 10-year reunion concert for the West End. It seems like concerts are staying in.
Yeah.
Les Mis arena tour further casting. Now, one thing we did criticize Les Mis for is it's only casting people of color as Eponine and never as Cosette. They've cast a person of color as Cosette, guys. Very exciting.
I'm very excited.
And I saw someone say that they wanted her to play this actress. Let me get up her name quickly. When Great Comet was announced, she was the first thought for Natasha.
Yeah.
And they were like, I guess if she's gonna go play Cosette, then that's fine.
That's fine.
I guess. Beatrice Penny Trout. So yeah, excited. I love the idea of Les Mis having an arena tour for some reason. If it was coming anywhere near me, I'd probably go, but it's
For
not.
some reason, like it's not its 40th anniversary.
Oh my God, sorry, I'm just cross.
Like,
Sorry, I'm an idiot.
oh, they just decided to do it for fun.
Carmen does do this shit though. Let's be real here. Speaking of
Yeah.
cast, changes. Hadestown on Broadway had a new cast start. Yola and Myra Fico both started. I have not seen any bootlegs from it. Any. Who believes me? Everyone, because I'm famously not engaging in bootlegs. Definitely didn't someone to my friend who does not know Hadestown, and his response was, I think it's a really cool concept for a musical. But yeah, love Hadestown. I love the casting that they've got going on at the moment.
Yeah.
It's weird. Hate the Marie Antoinette musical to play the About Palace. I believe it's the studio space.
It's called like the Marie Antoinette playlist.
Yeah, I know it's got some fun ass name. I just cannot remember it. Let me Google it. Yeah, it is Take the Marie Antoinette playlist. You were right.
So I guess it is just like a six thing.
Yeah, I think
Like a concert.
it's very sick.
But I don't know enough about Take the Marie Antoinette music playlist.
I can very confidently say that I will never pay money to go see this.
Yeah, probably not. It's not our thing.
Not to be a hater, it's not made for me. I'm okay, you know. I've seen 6. 2 strangers being strange. So basically, they announced at West End Live, I think, basically saying that they were extending until January.
Yeah.
And then something came out today being like, actually, we're not extending until January. We're closing in 2 months, so end of August.
But then it said that as they announced 2 new understudies.
Yeah, and they already have 2 understudies.
Yeah. Which just seems weird to do.
Yeah.
As if people are like, you literally just said you're extending until January. And I'm like, no, we're not.
No.
Like, I don't know if they're trying to heathers it and be like, no, guys, we're closing. We're so closing right now. Psych.
Actually, we're extending until the end of time. But there is a definite end. Like, for me, Two Strangers can only run for so long. Let me just look at it. Yeah, see, to date, they're only selling until 31st, but they did say they were running longer. Yeah, that is strange. The Great Gatsby had their cast album come out. What are my thoughts on the Gatsby cast albums? The Daisy solo should be flipped. That's my big fault.
I have nothing to say. I like the Only Tea song. Today's the day.
Today's the day. I do enjoy that.
Mr. Gatsby at 7 a.m. Today's the day. I love Jeremy Jordan. Anyways.
Gatsby Corner over. Starlight Express opened. It got good reviews. People were like, unfortunately, this is amazing. Great production.
It's a good show.
The press don't want to admit that Starlight Express is a good show.
I do want to shout out Starlight Express fan page or whatever you're called on TikTok. I admire your commitment to hating it. I appreciate your love for the OG. However, every time you post like comparison videos, the quality of the 80s ones are so bad that I just have to be like, they're bad.
I want to know how old this person is. Like, did they go see it in the 80s?
I hope so.
I really hope they're
they either have to be like 50.
Yeah.
Or they're like 14 years old.
No in between.
It's the only 2 ages I'll allow them to be. I'll lose interest if they come out and they're like, yeah, I'm like 25. I'll lose interest. That's boring.
No, that's so boring. You either have to be 14 and got really into Starlight Express lore like 2 months ago, or you have to be an obsessed Starlight Express fan from back in the day.
Yeah, I will say I'm not the biggest fan of the costumes. I saw a lot of people say it, and I agree. Taking out all of the like train elements is dull, and it like I understand the costume design is the same. I understand why. Yeah. They do just look like knockoff 6 costumes without the train elements.
I'm not very good at picking up on when costume design's been done by the same person, but I was able to look at it and go, oh, yeah.
These ones.
These ones were done by the woman who did 6.
They are just the 6 costumes. And they're not bad, like they look good.
Like on stage where they're skating around, they look good.
Yeah.
Starlight Express fan might have a point though.
No, I'll concede there. The 80s costumes are better.
The rest of it, I have no idea because I've never seen Starlight Express, but we're going to change that soon.
That's going to change soon.
That's going to change. We have no plans to get tickets.
No idea how we're getting them, but we are.
We're probably going to end up rushing it at some point.
Yeah.
Now, this is something that we do actually have tickets for. Big deal. We're seeing Great Comet.
Yes, we both put an equal amount of work for it. We both tried really hard to get the tickets. I slept through it, okay? I texted Esther and said, yeah, I'll be there for the tickets now, but then I slept through it.
You did say I will try, which wasn't a full-on commitment in your defense. I was half asleep at like 9 a.m. getting these tickets, but it took me half an hour. Why did it take me?
So you woke up?
I woke up at like 5 to 9, got on the website, and I was already in a motherfucking queue. It took me half an hour to get tickets to Natasha Pierre and the Great Comet of 1812. It was more like getting Great Comet tickets took me more time than going to vote today. It took me 3 minutes to get tickets for next to normal at the Dartnall. It's crazy. Anyway, we will be there, and we do have half decent tickets, I believe. Very excited. Right. It is Bake Off time. This is actually the most recent musical we've done, like, ever. I mean, it did only come out last year. So the Great British Bake Off musical is a musical with book and lyrics by Jake Berger and Pippa Cleary. You getting out of program?
Yeah, Jake Wanga did book and lyrics and Pippa Cleary did book and lyrics.
Yeah, but a lot of places it's like that was what was really confusing me because like even like her website, Pippa Cleary's website, it was just like they both were credited equally. And obviously I can't check the website anymore because it's not running still, which was really annoying because there were moments where I was like, I just need to check something quick. In case you
wrote the song for My Sons Are Queer, but what can you do?
Yeah. I didn't know that until I like was researching this. Yeah. So, in case you didn't know, The Great British Bake Off was originally a TV show. It is. It's still running. They've got a new series coming out in like a month or two. Where there's an ultimate baking battle where passionate amateur baking fans compete to be crowned the UK's best amateur baker. Over the course of 10 episodes, the series follows the trials and tribulations of competitors, young and old, from every background, every corner of Britain. They attempt to prove their baking prowess. Every week, the bakers tackle different baking skills, which become progressively more difficult as the competition unfolds. We've all seen an episode or two at least.
If it's American, it would be called The Great British Baking Show, which is stupid. It is The Great British Bake Off, that's its name.
I don't get why they changed the name.
I think because "bake off" isn't a phrase in America.
That makes sense, but it's stupid nonetheless.
Yeah. It's like how they changed, not to bring it up, but like the Harry Potter books.
Yeah, I get. Oh yeah, they changed the first one, I think.
Yeah, from philosophers to sorcerers.
Yeah. Yeah, it was created in collaboration with Love Productions. The company had worked on the show since its creation in 2010 through the controversial move to Channel 4 in 2016. When The Great British Bake Off moved from BBC to Channel 4, it was actually really...
It was horrendous. It was like the biggest drama we've had in years. It
was a massive deal when it really did not need to be.
Yeah.
It was not that deep. It's the latest... Basically, in the UK, we've kind of had... This came about around the same time that Stranger Things was really starting to pick up, like, announced that it was coming to the UK as a play. Publications referenced them side by side. Peaky Blinders has also been made into a ballet and an immersive show in the UK. The concept of Bake Off musical has been worked on for years, but it took writing duo Cleary and Berger to kick things into gear, saying, we really fought for it because we really like it. They can do this. It was a difficult position. Basically, they had to prove to the production company that they wanted to take on this musical and do it. To like research it, they obviously watched all of the show and they found a pattern in the characters. There's an older female who's a grandmother type, a hipster type male in their late 30s. There's normally a pretty university student, and there tends to be an older male, like an aero. They have a different word written down there, but I cannot pronounce that.
Nautical does not mean space.
I'm just thinking about what the character ends up being.
No, like nautical together means space.
Yeah.
Like astronaut.
Yeah, but nautical makes me think of like the sea and like boats.
Yes. Correct.
So I'm just confused as to what they're doing side by side.
It's like astronaut means space sailor.
Yeah. Oh,
Like star sailor.
that makes so much sense.
Aero, space, nautical.
That makes so much sense.
I'm trying to figure out how to describe nautical, but
I know,
nautical.
I know what nautical is. That was what was tripping me up. Engineer or something slightly geeky with a pencil and a ruler. It's how we take those recognizable characters and put them into a bigger collective. Originally was just going to focus on like one person or like two people, and then it like became a bigger ensemble piece.
Not entirely sure that's true. You can very clearly tell it is focused on one or two characters. I get that, yeah, there is a sense of everyone. But I also just say, I remember when we like first ever saw the ads
Yeah.
for the Bake Off musical. And I remember talking to you and being like, how do they even do that? Do they just take like old contestants?
Yeah.
Or do they come up with contestants?
Yeah.
And like, I think looking back, that's very stupid to say. How they did it was obviously how they were going to do it.
I also remember having very similar thoughts to you of how the hell do they do this? So you weren't alone in your what the hellness.
It wasn't a thought, it was what I said to you. Like, we talked about it.
No, we had a conversation of how the fuck did they do this? Remember thinking about it. Is it an official Bake Off musical? Like, do they have the rights to it? That was also one of my big questions.
No, they do not. Is the answer.
They do. I think they do and they don't.
I don't think they do. Because if they did, you would be allowed to say Paul Hollywood.
That's where I'm confused. Should I tell you where I'm confused? Is because they played the theme tune at the start, but then they didn't say, like, they were so obviously parodying people.
I think if they had the rights, I don't think you can get the rights because it's an ongoing show.
Yeah.
But if they were like working in collaboration, then I think they would be allowed to do Paul Hollywood.
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, it might just be them themselves being like, hey, we actually don't want to. We think it's funnier if it is clearly a parody of Paul Hollywood.
There was a lot of laughs about what's his name? What was his name? Hollingwood or something like that?
Get it. He had a Phil Hollinghurst.
Phil Hollinghurst.
And Pam Lee.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say. Okay, yeah. It seems it comes from them because they say there was also the question of how to portray Paul and crew, who we didn't reckon fancied singing and dancing 8 shows a week.
Yeah. Yeah, because then I guess if you're having the real person on it's like, why am I not seeing the real Paul Hollywood doing a little jig every night?
Yeah, I think when we were first approached by producer Mark Gauscher and director Rachel Cavanaugh,
I think.
Yeah. Are those guys from the actual show? Well, I guess to be fair, you wouldn't be allowed to just do it.
I thought it was unofficial until the overture started and they played the theme song, and I was like, someone approved this.
Yeah, but yeah, I guess it must have been approved somewhere because otherwise they'd get like cease and desist.
Otherwise, it would have been a Bridgerton situation where you guys have taken this very far.
Yeah. But they were saying like they talked to finalists and stuff like that. I'm also trying to look. I'm sure somewhere in the like producers. Anyway, one of the executive producer.
Yeah.
Is Richard McKenna, who is also the executive producer of The Great British Bake Off, The Great British Spelling Bee, and The Great Pottery Throwdown. He oversees Love Productions USA.
Yeah, that makes sense. But like, it is. You can tell that there's been a stamp of approval, but you can tell there's not been a ton of oversight as well.
I think it's like Love Productions does Bake Off.
Yeah.
Like, so clearly it is like endorsed.
Yeah.
I don't know, I guess if you come up and say we are doing a comedy Great British Bake Off musical, you have to give some leeway of being like, they're going to make fun of us.
Yeah, and as long as it's not in like a, because none of the jokes are coming from a particularly mean place.
So like there's the joke about Hanley being like an alcoholic.
Yeah,
Like it's funny, but it's also a joke that is made on the show or that is
yeah,
referenced on the show. And I guess most of the like worst jokes are about the made up contestant.
yeah. If the show gets mean, it's about very fictional people
It's
who aren't
like
parodying
what's her
anyone.
name? Babs.
Well, when Izzy blowtorches something, or
No, Babs.
oh yes,
Um,
Babs.
like she has a crush on Phil.
Yeah,
But most of the jokes of that is from and on Babs.
yeah. Like Phil is always
Like,
presented as a professional.
well,
Yeah.
no,
Oh no, because they do. Do they get together?
kind of.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's weird. It's a good, it's definitely funny. Like, I constantly think about the fucking motorbike.
Wait, I'll save it for our
Like, when we
thoughts.
saw Groundhog Day, I was like, this isn't as funny as the bike.
We've had. I just think about Dazza running through the audience.
Oh, Des is a great character.
This is one of my favorite
The
characters.
one thing I really don't get about the show
Yeah.
is why there was an ensemble. Because there was an
Oh my God.
ensemble,
Yeah.
which I find crazy because they're in like two songs.
They're moving set pieces around, but that's about it.
But I don't understand because then at other points the like principal cast moves them around and it works fine.
And at some point, you could just have a stage manager come on stage and move some shit around.
Yeah,
I get it for like cut for like understudy and swing purposes to have people, but
yeah. I just feel like either there needs to do what Six did and have only offstage swings and understudies,
yeah,
or commit fully and make the ensemble live up because their current as if the show is still open. Unfortunately, it's not.
wish it was still
But
running.
when we saw it, at least the only times you saw the understudies were in the opening
Yes,
when they did the caveman fire thing. Which,
yeah.
by the way, didn't like. I was like, oh, this is why this is not selling. This is like bad. And then immediately after that, it was like the best show I've ever seen.
Act one was outstanding
It was like
piece of
the one
theatre.
bit at the beginning, which looking back wasn't as bad. But like
Yeah.
in the moment, I was sad and I was like, I hate this. Oh, this is horrid.
Well, because we went in thinking this is going to be a bit of shit, but we found a cheap ticket, so let's go.
Yeah. It was like not even the performers or anything,
No.
or even like the writers. Like it is a funny bit to do. It just felt so weird because it's
Like,
something you start with, and then nothing like that happens throughout the rest of the show.
and they also like they play the Bake Off theme, and then they go in to, and then you're in a cave thing, and you're like, this is so not where I expected to be right now.
Yeah. The only other bit that's even vaguely like that is the scone versus stone bit.
Yeah.
But even that felt more like cohesive with the rest of the show. Like it was
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
have a fake Pam and Prue, no, a fake Paul and Prue in scone costumes, like sumo wrestling each other. It's a ridiculous bit.
That was
But
funny
somehow, like when it happened, I was like, yeah, this makes complete sense. I
because
understand how we got here.
you could see like them doing that on Bake Off, just like a more toned down version.
I could see I was the guy. His name is like Noel.
Oh, I know exactly who you're on about. He's one of the current
It
hosts.
Yeah, the two current hosts are both men.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see them doing that. Like, unironically, if I turned on the next season of Bake Off and they did that, I'd be like, that makes complete sense.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing. The only part of it, we'll get on to the other parts I didn't like or that I felt were lacking. But getting that opening bit was the only bit where I was like, this doesn't fit in.
I have a lot of thoughts about how you can make Bake Off better, but they come from the place of there are the bones of an amazing show in here.
It's like every other thing I have a problem with or I wish you could improve on is just that. It's that it's still good. It still works, but there are things I wish it was doing better. The like cave bit at the beginning, like the caveman bit, is the only bit where I'm like, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't fit. This doesn't add anything to the show.
Yeah, I
And the
100% agree.
only other bit the ensemble is it,
Yeah.
apart from that. It's like, what is going on with the finale? And they
Yeah.
say is like the contestant's family, which is a thing on Bake Off.
Oh my God, yes.
And so my thing is that bit makes sense. So I would understand completely if you committed to that and you had the ensemble as a role throughout. Have them be like the crew.
Yes.
Like if in a bit like when they are filming, you just had ensemble members moving cameras around, even if they weren't doing anything else. I would appreciate the ensemble more than you have them on at the beginning and you have them on at the end.
Or like
That feels like a school musical, you know?
Yeah. Have them be in the background when we leave, when we go to Blackpool.
I'm gonna look at.
But yeah,
So there is a prologue for sure.
yes.
Okay, they're allegedly in Slap It Like That, which I might be able to see. I don't remember perfectly. A lot happens in Slap It Like That.
All I'm thinking in my head is just the lyrics and then like the image of all of them at the front of the stage slapping a piece of dough.
Yeah, but then there's like a picture on the page next to it from Slap It Like That, and there is no like company there. It's just the bakers and like the presenters.
Yeah.
And then they are also apparently in All the Way, which I could see. That would make sense. I don't know where they are, but it make sense. You know what it might have been?
Is
I
All
think
the
they
Way
did
the
a
song
lot
where
of
they're
like
all
backing vocals off stage,
That's
like
what I
just
was
to fill up
thinking.
the room.
Yeah, to make it sound more lush because I mean there's a lot of them on stage though at any given time.
Yeah, and then the only other song, so they are definitely in Keep On Keeping On, which is a fucking great song.
I love
Um,
Keep On Keeping On.
but again, so much happens in that song that I could not tell you. Listen, Pam Lee doing a cartwheel, it kind of takes up a lot of my memory of that
And then
song.
she's like
So I do not
she's
remember if
in
they haven't
like a
seen it.
red glittery thing at one point, like rips off her clothes.
Hayden Gwynn, I miss you every day.
Oh,
Purely for how you
R.I.P.
played Pam Lee. It was
Legend.
your best role.
I'm sure you were great in
Really.
everything else. I was honoured to see you as Pam Lee.
I'm so happy I saw you as Pam Lee. They're also carrying Don't Send Me Home, but I don't think that makes sense because that's really focused on the bacon.
I could see
but
them
again, it
being
might be backing vocals.
Yeah, or in the background, like moving the stations.
Yeah, and then they're in the finale, I think, as like the family of the
Yeah,
bakers.
yeah. But the ensemble's not very big. It's like 4 or 5 people, isn't it?
Yeah, it is genuinely like 4 people. But that's why I feel like it doesn't make complete sense to have an ensemble. And I'm like looking in the program, and it's got 4 people listed as ensemble slash understudy, and then 2 people listed as just understudy.
Interesting.
But I don't know. I feel like the ensemble thing I just felt a bit weird about because they really weren't in it, and I wasn't even sure until like until the bows that there was an ensemble.
There was a part of me that was like, oh, it's stage crew dressed up so that they can move stuff about.
Or it's like because the thing with the opening bit is they have this caveman bit, and then what are their names? The 2 presenters who are great.
They were very entertaining.
Also, program smells incredible. Fucking bit to use. Jim for sure. Jim and Kim.
Jim and Kim. Oh, the names in this show are amazing.
So incredible because they have, and then Jim and Kim like take off their like cloaks that they're wearing as capers, and they're like, "Welcome to the Bake Off 10," and all of the ensemble runs off stage, and then the bakers start coming in, and so I was like, "Oh well, it's some of the bakers."
It's one of the
Who
bakers.
are going to be the last ones to re-enter.
Yeah, it's like Gemma and someone else.
Yeah. This isn't anything against the ensemble, by the way.
I'm sure they were very talented people. Like,
genuinely they were.
And you know what?
But
collect that
it was
paycheck.
just like a really weird thing because there were 4 people who played an ensemble show and then they had an additional ensemble that weren't really in it.
Yeah, and I could get having some characters that weren't like some contestants that also weren't named, that were just on stage to fill out the space. Every contestant was named.
An ensemble band, but also he is in 2 songs at the beginning and then and he continuously comes back, which is really funny. I don't understand why you'd have an ensemble for that sense. It'd be like we can't cast this guy. Or like build an ensemble off of like guys who get sent home.
Yeah.
Having an ensemble felt weird. It didn't feel necessary, is what I'm trying to say.
I 100% agree. That's one of my criticisms of the show. Anyway, it would premiere at Cheltenham's Everyman's Theatre in July 2022. It would get a 3-star review from The Guardian saying many of the contestants are given their own number in a series of personal revelations are unpacked in just a few reductive minutes. Syrian immigrant Hassan um sings about how baking helped him feel as though he belonged in Birmingham, whilst Cambridge graduate Izzy trills about her burning desire to win. In Grow, a song that stretches the metaphor way beyond its breaking point, Italian cook Francesca explores how making cakes helped her get over her difficulty conceiving a child. The main love story sees widowed dad Ben hook up with the helpless and lonely Gemma from Blackpool. This wafer-thin romance on which the entire musical preciously balances. Wakefield has an amazing voice, but the Frozen-esque levels of emotion in her big number, Rise, which director Rachel Kavanagh underscores with tumbling waves of dry ice, feel too big for a show this slight.
All of Gemma's numbers,
Mm.
Rise is the one I remember the least.
Yeah. For a moment I
And I will
thought,
say this, Somewhere in the Dough, perhaps the best song ever written.
I fucking love Somewhere in the Dough. I feel very
I'm gonna listen
passionately
to it
about
after
this.
this. I'm
Yeah.
genuinely gonna go. That the Bake Off 10,
Oh,
the song is getting listened to.
I unironically
All of
find
the songs.
myself listening to this cast album more than I ever should.
It's so good. And my thing is as well, Somewhere in the Dough is quite possibly the perfect contemporary musical audition song.
We had a very long discussion about Somewhere in the Dough after we'd seen it. Like, I think because we saw Bonnie and Clyde, this, and then 2 days later we saw Phantom.
Yeah, we saw something else also. No, we didn't see it in that period.
No. We just I think we were joking about Laura Osnes a lot
Because of Bonnie and Clyde.
because of Bonnie and Clyde. And we were like, Laura Osnes would play Jenna, but Jenna would also sing Somewhere in the Dough.
Yeah, I just think like it is such a good like if I had an audition coming up, my immediate first choice would be Somewhere in the Dough.
It's also like not big, like the show isn't well known enough for a lot of people to know what it is.
Yeah, but listeners, let me put you on this. Somewhere in the
Somewhere,
Dough for a female contemporary audition.
yes,
It's got range. It gets
yes.
pretty. Yeah, it's got emotion.
It's got a lot of
It's
acting
a
beats.
character. It's got an accent if you want to try it. She's from Blackpool. She's got an accent if you want to try it.
It's
The
also,
English just works in a pretty general accent.
yeah, as you said, I think you said this, it can be pretty funny
Yeah,
when she's talking about living the rubber dog.
yeah. Because the first part is her. What is the big music? It's probably not so I can say that. But like Gemma's story is basically she was the standby contestant in case one of the very low flying helicopter I have. She was standby contestant in case one of the others couldn't make it. Spoilers, they don't, so she gets called in. She runs down from Blackpool and she's basically like, yeah, I used to be a carer. However, my mum, who I was caring for, died. So now I am here.
Yeah,
And she's basically saying, I feel really out of my depth. Like, I feel like I don't know who I am. My whole life has been, my recent life has been taking care of my mum. You know, I make dishes for her. She has always liked them. She never said anything bad. I've tried to date. I haven't had any luck. But I
yeah,
know somewhere deep down there is the girl I used to be in
yeah.
this bacon. You know, somewhere in the dough, there's the girl I know. Um,
Banger tune.
like it's a very you can take it very deep, but she sings it in a funny way. That sounds
Yeah,
rude. It's
I
comedy.
the thing
Her accent makes it a bit funny.
the thing with Bake Off was Somewhere in the Dough was the moment where it really clicked for me. Like I thought the Bake Off temp was a good, funny song, but I was like, oh, is this just gonna be joke after joke after joke after joke the entire way? And Gem was the first moment where I was like, oh, this is funny.
It was I think I
This is
remember
good.
Somewhere in the Dough because it was you get introduced to all of them, obviously. And as you're introduced to each character and you're like, oh, I get the direction this is taking of how
Yeah,
this works in relation to the actual show Bake Off. And then you get introduced to Gemma, which is really funny. And it is in the Bake Off 10.
Mm.
when she's talking about I used to be a carer. My mum died.
No, she's like, I used to be a carer. What do you mean used to? I got made redundant. What do you mean? My mum died or something like that.
Yeah. And then I remember as well with the Bake Off 10, the bit at the end when they are all singing over each other. I remember
Yes.
really getting goosebumps in the bit. I was like, fuck, this is good. This sounds good.
But also, like,
And I remember turning to Esme and being like, this is going to be good. This is a good show.
I went into Bake Off feeling like a smug fucking bitch.
Yeah.
Being like, I'm smarter than this. I can figure out where it's gonna end.
I like real musicals.
I like real musicals. I'm an intellectual, you know? Like I thought I could outsmart Bake Off as a musical. I was like, this is dumb, this is
Yeah.
ridiculous. I'm here because I got a cheap ticket. And then I got to somewhere in the door and I was like, oh, Esme, turn off your brain and just like enjoy this as a piece. Because you will have so much fun when you did. And the second I did that, it was genuinely one of the funniest things I've seen in the theatre.
I think, not to one up you, but I genuinely think from the Bake Off, at least the end of the Bake Off 10 onwards, I was like in love with it. You do Bake Off 10 and then Obviously, which is a great song.
Okay, I can't like obviously.
If you're playing like, think like one of the Plastics or like one of the Heathers.
Grace Mowat is now one of the Plastics.
Great song. Grace Mowat is now one of the Plastics. But she sang Obviously. It's just a very, or even, oh my God, what is her name? I forget what the musical's called also. Lin-Manuel Miranda's cheerleader one.
Bring it
What
on.
the fuck is, Bring It On. I forgot the name.
Campbell.
Campbell could do Obviously as an audition song. Kinda. Or, oh, who's the other one? I forget all the names. Bring It On is like such a good musical, and every time I go to talk about it, I forget everything about it.
Bring It On's a fever dream, and I've physically seen Bring It On, and I'm like, I have no idea what happens in it.
Basically, if you're doing like a teen musical or like a high school set musical, and you're playing one of the kind of like mean girls, listen to Obviously.
Obviously,
get that in your repertoire.
Obviously, I was like, this is a good song, but again, I can just see like the modern musical theatre influences, and then it got somewhere in the door, and I was like, I need to turn my fucking brain off. In like general, it takes you are a lot quicker to be like, oh shit, this is amazing than me.
I have really low standards.
No,
to be clear. Like
it was the same in Hadestown.
Yeah.
Like you almost fell out.
I locked into Hadestown really quickly. I was like, I get this. I understand what we're doing here.
Can't was when you almost fell out of your seat. I almost fell out of my seat at Wait For Me.
The revolves, Esme didn't notice this, and I really thought she was going to because I thought she was going to laugh at me. But the revolve started up in Hadestown, and I like leant forward.
That was me.
Like unconsciously, I just went like lean on my knees and look down.
That was me when the set opened up in Wait For Me. I was like, I think I turned to you at the end of that and I had tears in my eyes.
Yeah. It's because you get Somewhere in the Dome, which is like a beautiful song.
Yeah.
And then you get Slap It Like That and Bring On the Scone. Back to back. It's a crazy songs. Like really enjoyable and hilarious, but like crazy.
The script.
And then after that, you want to know what you get?
What'd you get?
Grow.
Okay.
That Francesca sings.
Grow Out of Context is an amazing song. Another song that I find myself listening to.
Even in context, it is so good. I remember when we saw it, there was this like mother and young daughter in front of us. And after Grow, the mum like turned and hugged her daughter, and I was like, fuck. That's so cute.
The thing also with Bake Off is I remember the guy next to us was like, I'm at Bake Off the musical, the crowd is exactly how you would expect it. And I was like, what the fuck does that mean?
Like, dude, fuck you. We're too cool for this. And then we fell in love with it. We're like, holy shit, this is so good. Holy
shit, we're not as cool as we thought we are. But maybe we're cooler because we can accept this in our hearts.
Yeah. And then you get the Handshake song, which is incredible, truly. Like a genuinely funny song. Then you get My Dad, which I wasn't the biggest fan of. And then you get All the Way as the act one finale, which is hilarious. Oh, yeah. And I think a part of what makes, I think we did talk about this right after we saw Bake Off. It is so clearly built on like British humour and specifically references to the Great British Bake Off, which makes it perfect.
Yeah.
Because it's like, All the Way is what happens every season on Bake Off, which is like, it's the hottest week of the year. You're going to be making ice cream. Your ice cream cake has to be like 8 hours tall. has to like hold up by itself, and we're gonna wait 30 minutes after you finish to judge it.
Yeah. And it's your fault
It's
to keep it up.
ridiculous. But then they did a reference in All the Way to the baked Alaska incident,
Yeah.
which, if you don't know, was this guy put his baked Alaska by accident in this bitch old woman's fridge, and she took it out and didn't tell him. And then when he went to go look for it, he was like,
Yeah.
"Has anyone seen my baked Alaska?" And she was like, "Oh, it's over there on the counter." And he went to go look at it, and it was completely melted, and he threw it in the bin and stormed off. And it was a big incident, sent home
Yeah. People
because
lost
of it.
their minds when that part of the show
We
happened.
Because the way they did it was so funny. She was holding her ice cream, and it was Gemma. It happened to, I believe. She was
Yeah.
holding it. I was like, "No, it didn't freeze. Oh my God, what will I do? It's not going to work." And they're like, "There must be something I could do." A single spotlight on a bin.
Yeah.
And then they had like, "Oh no, don't worry. The British the British friendship. What do you call this person? When suddenly every single character, apart from her name's Izzy, isn't it?
Izzy. Yeah. Yeah.
Izzy,
Yeah, Izzy.
who is a bitch, but a
She's
great.
mental.
She's insane.
Hilarious.
I love
Like
her.
the most
Every
insane,
single
like obviously the show wouldn't work without your Gemma or Ben's. However, the characters I was always the most excited to see on stage and doing something, Izzy and Dazza.
every time they would like even vaguely reference, he'd be like, "We might need a contest." Like, was it? I forget his name, but the gay, just
Yeah.
he like cuts his finger, which is another thing that happened. I believe on Celebrity Bake Off, it was Joe
Yeah, it
Sugg.
was James Lancaster or someone like that.
He like cut his finger and he was like, "I need a medic," and then fainted.
Oh no,
Pretty
it's Joe
incredible.
Sugg.
Yeah, it was Joe Sugg. He like fainted. But they did that. We love Hassan as well. We'll talk about Hassan
Oh, well,
properly later.
when we finally make it to our thoughts about going off on a long tangent,
Yeah,
I
guys, we've not even got there
about
yet.
this. We fucking love this show.
It is like, I hate to bring up the stupid fucking tweet,
I hate to bring up the stupid fucking tweet, but bring up the
but
stupid
maybe
fucking
we
tweet.
don't take musicals seriously over here, because I truly believe the Great British Bake Off should become the longest running musical ever on the West End. I like need it to run for like 100 years.
I truly believe that it should have been nominated for Olivier Awards, at least.
And I want to say, Scott Page liked my tweet about it.
He
I
did.
posted, I was like, "Guys,
The
the
Bake
Great
Off
British Bake Off
musical.
musical is like shockingly good," and he liked it. And I was like, "Thank you, man." And then half the cast liked it. And I was like, "Fuck. I need them to know how much I love this musical."
They need to
Scott
hear
Page,
this
if you're
episode.
listening, please,
We're massive fans of your work in this.
can you bring it back for like a week so we can go see it
one
every
night
night
only
from
concert?
the front row?
We had very good seats when we saw it.
Can we just sit on stage?
Can we be on the
Can
tent?
we be two bakers?
We'll be the ensemble.
Can we be the presenters?
Then Scott Page would have a job.
You're right. Can we be But can we be the judges, please?
Let me get through
I
this.
want to sumo wrestle Esme in a skunk costume.
Guys, if we make enough money off of this podcast, we will sumo wrestle in a skunk costume.
I want a little model of me and Esme to go on a tiny toy motorbike across the street.
Multiple times.
I want to have a love affair with Babs. In case I'm not making it clear, I want to be Paul Hollywood.
I can't do a cartwheel, but I'll try.
I can't do a cartwheel either, which is why I'm going with Phil.
Okay, so in October of 2022, they would announce that they were transferring to the West End for a 12-week limited run at the Noel Coward Theatre. So disrespectful to me. So there, like, in everything I read, there was definitely a degree of audience skepticism, which we had. We said we were skeptical about going into this. We were being elitist, prestigious bitches about this, or at least I was.
I think for me, and I probably should say this for our thoughts, but I'll say it now. It was two things, which was one, it was getting like pretty bad reviews.
Do you remember Max Shetland?
He's already started this. He's kind of the reason we're here.
He is kind of the reason we're here.
In a series of like dominoes falling down.
He is the reason
like smack bang at the beginning.
I think us
Max Shetland from TikTok.
I don't know if he's still making reviews. Where is he? I want him back. We need to know.
Max Shetland Theatre. He
What?
hasn't posted
Yeah, I
since
know.
November 2023.
I need Max Shetland's thoughts on everything. Get that man
His
to the Gatsby's.
Instagram's gone.
Guys, who ran Max Shetland off the
Where is
internet?
Max Shetland? Okay, his Brokeback Mountain review, I think we used to quote all the time at the beginning of this podcast, and it's like we slowly forgot about it.
Wait, what did he say?
The most
The most
boring
boring
show on the West.
We did used to quote this all the time.
He reviewed the Great British Baker Musical, and we both saw it, and we were like, we might have to go see this.
Yeah.
Like, he was like the most disappointing show. Every single comment on the video was like, oh my god, I can't believe Dear Evan Hansen closed for this.
Do you remember that Dear Evan Hansen fan who was so pissed at the Great British Bake Off musical existing?
Icon.
Oh,
I was looking through the comments, and I did see someone say they were expecting something like the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee at Baker Bee. That would have been hilarious.
No, but
if they got one of us up on stage to be a Bake Off contestant, dream come true.
Here's the thing. I can see remnants of Spelling Bee in the Bake Off, though.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm still on Max Shetland. He wasn't going for long, but man left his mark. Max Shetland really did fuel our hate of mincemeat.
It was unironically, we were sat in a Mexican restaurant.
It's called DT. It's in East London. It's very good. We should go back.
East London. We should go back. And we were talking, and I was saying, you know Max Shetland? Because we both knew his reviews. I was like, he reviewed this show called Operation Mincemeat. And I've seen a few reviews for this show now, but all of them have. It's hard to talk. We're so derailed.
No, because I have a point to say about Mincemeat and Bake Off. Bake Off should have the success that Mincemeat has. Bake Off's a better fucking show. And it's all connected.
Bake Off.
All connected in my head.
But basically, he was like, there's a show called Mincemeat, and Max Shetland reviewed it. I think it was really good. But he said he was gifted the tickets. So it was kind of an ad. And I was saying, I have seen other reviews for the show that have said the same thing, that have reviewed it very highly, but were gifted the tickets. Or they say, I have a friend in this show, which, by the way, was very confusing for us because we thought it was going to be a fucking massive cast because everyone had a friend in this show.
Yeah.
That's really, well, let's look up this Operation Mincemeat. You know, can we get like cheap £20 tickets to go see it and see what's going on over there?
Like we did with Bake Off.
We went down a rabbit hole.
And now we're here.
And now we have a podcast.
Yes, so Bake Off is the genesis of this podcast, guys.
Max Shetland Theatre Reviews started this podcast.
Please come back. I need your take.
Boring show on the West
End. Incest, the musical.
We used to say it so much, but we just, like, I think over Christmas we just stopped completely. Because we forgot about it.
Because he stopped popping up on our For You pages because he stopped posting.
Yeah.
But Max Shetland would post and we'd send them to
we
each
miss
other.
you so much. You were truly the backbone of the theatre community.
You're a micro celebrity to us. What a fun walk down memory lane that was.
Damn.
Miss you, Max.
I miss you, Max.
Audience was very skeptical because of Max Shetland reviews.
Oh, that's what I was saying. It got really bad reviews, and so we saw, like, specifically the Max Shetland one and the other bad reviews. And I'm like, well, we might have to go and see this because it's cheap tickets because it's getting bad reviews, and it surely can't be like worth 1 million 2-star reviews. So we want to go see it. And the other audience skepticism was my own, which I told you about earlier. Just being like, I don't know how you would do a Bake Off musical. Like, is it existing characters? Is it new characters? How are you going to do Prue and Phil?
Yeah.
Prue and Paul. You miss Mexico there. But I was also like, are they going to do, like, Mary Berry? Or are they going to do...
Yeah. Because in my mind, Mary Berry is still the host. I know she's not, but she still is.
I know she's not. Yeah. But yeah, there definitely was audience skepticism from us, at least.
Yeah, and
do you remember
that woman sat behind us who was gossiping?
Yeah.
A motherfucking
icon.
Storm. I love that woman.
Was it when we saw Bake Off, where we also were, like, sat on the tube and there were the two older women in front of us?
Just gossiping.
We were like, that's going to be us in 20 years.
That's us in, like, 40 years. Just, like, sat on the tube.
They were just these two older women, like, gossiping, and we're like, that's us.
First name, last name, explicit gossip about their personal lives. Us in the queue. for an
I
ASMR.
want to say, I might be misremembering this, but
Yeah.
I feel like at one point, and we really had to hold back laughter,
Mm.
was they like first name, last name someone. And it was in the sense of like, oh, you know, so and so. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, of course I know so and so. Like, they're dead.
Yeah. Stay in my life, actually, when we saw Bake Off. I
They
thought
have like truly changed our lives.
I thought like the Eras tour was the greatest day of my life. The day I saw Hades Town was the greatest day of my life. No, it was the day I saw
Looking back,
fucking
it was
Bake
Bake
Off.
Off. The day we saw Bake Off was truly the best day of our lives.
I mean,
I would do anything to see it again.
the day I saw Hades Town was a pretty fucking amazing day in my mind.
And my thing is, I don't even feel bad about anyone listening who didn't get to go see it. And it's like, oh, I really wish I could see it. I'd gone and seen it now. Yeah, good. You
Good.
should have gone and seen it.
I mean, I
It
feel
was
bad.
truly incredible.
I feel bad for the Americans who can never understand it on a deep intellectual
Yeah, they'll
level.
never get it.
We'll never understand it. Well, this week's not about you. We're getting a new prime minister.
Not about you.
Anyway, so yeah, Peter Cleary would say on the audience skepticism, I think they were expecting it to be, oh, just come in, have a bit of a drunken night out with the girls, but that's not what we wanted to do. That was so us.
Yeah. We were like, this is gonna be so funny. We're just gonna have fun out at Bake Off. Nope, changing.
Life-changing. And Hayden Gwynn would say, my reaction was, as I think a lot of people was, how's this going to work? John Owen Jones, who played Phil, also said the same, like, I'm like, really? A Bake Off musical?
I really loved his portrayal of Phil.
Phil, yeah.
Because he just constantly like smoldered.
To the audience.
He's like,
So
we didn't have the term for it then, but he'd start like mewing and like raise one eyebrow whenever he wasn't saying a line. Like it was every time he'd say a line and he'd be like, yeah, you just really need to focus on the cooking. Like stop mocking.
it was like he did his own personal model shoot at any
It
time.
was so good. And love this show.
Fucking love Bake Off.
It was just that, and then Pam would have some stupid line and she'd be like, oh, what are you gonna add into your like
Can you guys
cake?
let
And they'd
us
be
have
like,
the
oh,
script? We'll do a reading of it, just the two of us.
just the two of us will recreate this show.
Yeah.
We'll do it.
We have enough passion in our hearts for Bake Off the musical. Believe it or not, the New York Times did review it.
Crazy.
Let's
5 stars, surely.
They don't. New York Times don't give out stars.
But in their heart, 5 stars.
In their hearts, I'm sure the New York Times wants to. Let's read what they say.
Of course.
And the show, which opened on Monday at the Noel Coward Theatre for a limited run through May 13th, is generously spirited. During the 2.5-hour runtime, the musical's likability is never in question, even if craft it sometimes is. You can't help but wishing the creators had been as exacting in their own material as some of the contestants are in the ovens. But perhaps the biggest appeal of TV material in the cross-section of British society is the competitors represent. The music, perhaps inevitably, but also rather drippily whisks dollops of uplift into the mix. You get a comic number in which the two judges appear as dueling scones alongside life lessons about elsewhere. About the recipe of meat, it is suggested that baking can make you feel better about yourself.
Man, I love Bake Off, the musical.
The often self-regarding Izzy is so short of her success that she gets a dance number, obviously, in praise of her own brava. At the opposite end of the spectrum is nervous chatterbox Gemma, depressive health aide from Blackpool, whose climactic anthem Rise draws directly from the Wicked playbook of self-empowerment. Again, Somewhere in the Dough is the better song. In Wicked theme, the notably facetious? Facetious.
Fastidious, that says.
Fastidious. Russell speaks separately of people coming to life with your own reason, a familiar sentiment from the earlier show. The pie-themed musical Waitress hovers in the wings as well. Yeah. That is one thing I will say. We were making Waitress puns for like a solid
all the time.
48 hours after we saw Bake Off.
If Bake Off the musical had baked something in the lobby, we would have been back. Like instantly.
I I do regret not seeing it again. I know why we didn't.
I like genuinely regret not seeing it again.
I know why we didn't, and that was because we were at university.
Yeah, we were like out of the city.
There's something of a rummage sale feel to Cleary and Burnger's eclectic score, which draws upon such diverse sources as Cole Porter and Stephen Sondheim. The wonderful Gwen starts the second act in a sequenced dance number that came from Follies. She also reprises the cartwheel that wowed audiences some years back in Billy Elliot. She speaks of dripping your little finger in my ranticle? Am I being dumb? Raclette. The image sounds notably lewd. The musical occupies a different, more innocent crowd, one in which strudels are restorative, and as the show puts it, the cure. Cake is the cure. I'm fully on board with that message as anyone. What's needed is more art to accompany the heart. I agree. Like, I love Bake Off, but I do agree with that.
Yeah.
Time Out would say, I mean, baking-based innuendo and musical theatre numbers. What's not to like, right? In fact, even if you love its main ingredients, you may not be fully satisfied by the Jake Bolger and Pippa Cleary's show, which arrived on the West End after a stirring life at Cheltenham last year. The musical resides deeply in the murkiness dwells of Uncanny Valley. Everything about it feels faintly familiar, leaving you playing a guessing game about what's been nicked from where. Some bits are oh so straightforward. Phil Hollinghurst, barely veiled Paul Hollingwood. Helpfully seasoned West End actor John Owen Jones has dark eyebrows and silver hair to make that obvious. Pam Lee is evidently Pruely. Here, Hayden Gwynn sports a authentically horrible statement necklaces and makes fabulous work of her old school Broadway song and dance numbers. At one point, she even does the cartwheel. These charismatic, familiar judges are a highlight. The contestants feel more clumsily written, emerging in a Frankenstein's monsters mismatched of details lifted from real-life contestants. For example, the spirited grandma, Babs, hates Phil's, referring to him as the male judge, just like Series 5 winner Nancy did. But it feels a bit tactlessly towards real-life Nancy, given the song and dance number where she reveals instead of despising him, she's actually sexually obsessed with him.
I feel like that makes more sense.
Yeah.
As in, like, because it would be a whole nother issue if you just put the real life contestants on stage.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to have, like, because Nancy calling him the male judge is like a memorable thing. So doing that and then being like, you know what's even funnier? She's fucking in love with him.
And she sings it.
She's like old. She's had like 4 husbands, and she's like, I want to fuck this guy. And let me describe how in my big finale number, which is like the penultimate number of the show or something ridiculous.
And it's also called
like, I'm going to fuck him. It's
like,
called Babs Lament. You look at it in this song list, and you're like, oh, she's gonna sing like her old lady song.
Yeah.
It's like, my grandkids don't visit me, and I'm really sad. And the song starts, and she's like, I'm going to fuck Paul Hollywood, and here's how.
Not to get all deep about Bake Off the musical, but I think it's quite a feminist statement.
Yeah, I think even if it's not intended to be,
yeah,
it's just so in a really stupid way. Like all the female characters are so much better written
than they should be.
The male characters. We'll get to this more in like our thoughts. Russell doesn't have a song.
No.
Gazza doesn't have a song. Hassan doesn't have a song.
And I mourn that every
Ben,
day.
Unfortunately, does.
Ben, let's take away some of Ben's songs.
Ben is a policeman from Bristol, so we hate him.
I hate policemen.
And also, his whole thing is he's kind of like, I'm just doing this for my wife, my dead wife,
and my very alive daughter, who's some
very alive daughter
reason in the show.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk about the perfect petit four.
My God, that sent you specifically up a wall.
It's crazy.
Anyway, at other points, there are attempts at pathos that fall flat. Stylish Italian contestant Francesca spends the whole show lamenting that she doesn't have a bun in the oven, but using a range of baking puns. Is that the audience is meant to be giggling or mourning her childless state? It is not clear. It is disappointing that the whole character is reduced to her reproductive potential. The character of his Syrian-born student Hassan is a excuse for some very, very light contemplation of the British part of the Great British Bake Off. He and Francesca have a conversation about national identity that is insubstantial, as a day-old vanilla slice, especially situated within a show that uses childishly uses foreign pastry names to comedic effect. And the main plotline is hopelessly mawkish. Bereaved carer Gemma and bereaved single dad Ben gently fall for each other as they perfect their Macron technique. Their tragic backstories making them worthy of romantic fulfillment. The perfect petit fours. The thing that makes real-life episodes of The Bake Off enjoyable is the spontaneity, creativity, and strangeness of ordinary people. You can't predict mishaps in the series for wrong custard debacle, or evident in characters, real-life baking, whimsical baking, which later. But this musical prods rather than innovates. The show's showing its characters half-familiar journeys as they progress from their first technical challenge to the garden party grand final. Grinding predictably, it has pounded my brain into a soft, gooey substance, the kind of thing that would fill a pavlova in a pinch.
I think my issue with that review is they have summed it up in their final line.
Yes.
Which is that you think you're too good for it.
Yeah. I thought I was too good for it, but then I gave over and had a great time.
Yeah. Like this idea of, I really want to talk about the Francesca bit. Of being like, are you meant to laugh or like be sad? I was like, well, what do you fucking think? If we use our brain that you think has been pounded into a soft gooey substance, your big little brain, your big brain in your head that you used to write this review, do we think when someone is saying I'm really sad that I can't have children, even though it's kind of all I wanted to do, should we laugh or be sad?
I agree.
Let's all think together.
I don't agree with a lot of that. I agree with this stuff about Hassan. We'll get to it in a moment.
We'll talk about it in a second.
We'll talk about this again. You just gotta do the synopsis now.
Yeah. But like, let me do the synopsis now.
Yeah, then you can bitch.
Yeah. The story takes place over one season in the tent and follows 8 contestants, 2 hosts and the 2 judges as they battle their way through the ups and downs of a filmed competition. Yeah, fuck it. We all know what Bake Off is. Great show. This fucking review.
Let me run my fucking mouth.
Like, I think there are multiple parts of, like, as much as we have just hyped it up for like the past hour, there are multiple parts of Bake Off that I'm not the biggest fan of. The biggest one is calling it an ensemble show. 100%. But then not all characters are treated equally.
See, I thought we were going to do the 6 thing almost, of here's a bit of plot, and then this character gets a song and we find out about their life. And we do kind of do that, but then, and I hate to say this, because I do really like the character of Gemma, I don't give a shit about Ben or his child.
Yeah. I think the problem was that Ben's character, despite being the main love interest, is really dull. Apart from being sad that his wife is dead and having a child, he kind of doesn't do anything else.
No.
Like, Gemma at least has a character, and she's very clear about that in Somewhere in the Dough.
Yes.
She's like, I don't know who I am right now, but I'm willing to find out through baking.
Yeah.
Whereas Ben is just kind of like, I'm really sad, my wife is dead.
No, my wife is dead.
And my daughter is here and she made me sign up, and isn't that cute?
Yeah.
Also, I'm a policeman.
Dad, policeman from Bristol, is just his personality.
Yeah, and widow. Don't forget he's a widow. But I think, so, with Hassan particularly.
Yes. I love his character.
He is there until, like, the semi-final.
No, I think the final's between him, Gemma, and Ben.
Yeah. Because isn't it originally going to be between Izzy, Gemma, and Ben?
Yeah, and then Izzy
and then they swap it because Izzy gets kicked out for scheming. Great character.
Love Izzy.
Love her. But he is there until, like, the end.
Yeah.
Like, he is a big character. And he doesn't get a song at all.
I really wanted him to have a song.
He had this really good conversation with Francesca, which they talk about in that review. And I kind of get what they're saying, but I kind of don't. I understand. I do wish it had been expanded on his idea of, like, I feel like I'm not British. I don't know what else I am. Yeah. And I'm on the Great British Bake Off, but a lot of people don't consider me British.
Yeah.
like it's a very interesting conversation and a very interesting point to make. And I feel like I think we haven't said this before on this podcast, but we have said constantly before, Act Two needs work.
Okay, I think we can make it an amazing 90-minute, 120-minute musical.
Yeah,
I would take an axe to that second act.
yeah. I think from the first act, genuinely the only thing I'd be willing to cut is my dad.
Yeah,
And that's just because I don't like the song or the characters.
no,
Like they're not my favorites. I feel like they're the least interesting.
I would, yeah, that is, because we walked away from Act One being like, that was outstanding. It was so
Yeah.
fast-paced. It was so, so funny. And you very much understood where we were going at all points.
Yeah. And then I think Act Two opens strong with Keep on Keeping On. Like it's fun, you're still matching that energy. It's just very like impressive. Then you get like Keep on Keeping On, and then kind of nothing, and then the perfect petit four. Which let me talk about this fucking song. I was
Said
like
to me during the show, this sounds like something.
I was like whispering to her, I was like, the perfect petit four sounds like another song. And she was like, what do you mean? I was like, there is a song from another musical, and I don't know what it is, but it sounds exactly like this. And I'm like, huh, anyways, let's keep watching this. But afterwards, I was like, yeah, the perfect petit four sounds like a song from another musical, but I don't know what it is. And for like, it was days or something.
It was like a solid 2 weeks.
And we were talking about it. And then at 11:35 p.m.,
I remember it being late, yeah.
I text Esme and I say, it was in from Carrie. That song I said sounded familiar from Bake Off. And she goes, what song? The Perfect Petit Four.
There's a little
Has this that kind of bit from In happens in The Perfect Petit Four, but slightly changed at the end.
It was like, it right it's just this very one specific moment that the tune is exactly the same.
Yeah, it's the and then you take a bite.
It sounds,
even though it's teeny tiny, it just sounds exactly like In.
It sounds like, and I worry, and In. Do it's that same thing. There's probably a specific musical technical term, but I don't know it.
It just sounds exactly the same.
Yeah.
And I was sat for the whole like second act and like, what song is that? What is it?
What the fuck is this?
And we trying to figure it out. But yeah, characters like Hassan and also Russell.
Yes.
Don't get song. I'm trying to think. There are how many Bakers? 10?
Yeah.
Russell, Ben, Babs, Izzy, Hassan, Deza, Francesca, Gemma. But Russell, Hassan, and Deza do not get songs. And Deza makes sense. As rude as it sounds, completely fine with Deza not getting a song because it's funnier the way it is right now.
It's so funny just to have him be in the background.
It's such a simple bit, but it's so funny.
And his verse in the Bake Off tent is all we need to know about that man. We don't need any more of his inner world. We don't need any more of his inner thoughts. We just need him to run
incredible.
And talk about veganism every like 5 minutes.
He's great. Like Russell, it's again, both Russell and Hassan have good lines. Like they talk. There's a specific bit. I think it is when they're in like Blackpool or something. No, it's when they're
in a hotel room. Yeah.
While they're like in the tent, and they're talking, and Russell gives good advice. And it's like I kind of wish we knew anything about this man.
Yeah.
Actually, we see Dazza get voted out.
Yeah.
And then who goes?
And then they all go around the same time. Because they all get voted off on the song Don't Send Me Home.
Which is like halfway through Act 2.
Yeah.
I want to say, yeah. They go like one by one then.
I do remember being sat there and going, we got a lot of people here and the show's only got about half an hour left.
Yeah, but yeah.
That's what I mean by I want to take an act to that second act.
Because either you need to make the decision of having Russell stay the way he is, but having him get sent home earlier.
Yes.
Like by the end of Act 1, because that would make sense and why he doesn't have a song. He could still be around because he gives a lot of good advice in Act 2 to Gemma.
Yeah.
But then, even then, if you're doing that, you may as well just have him sing it.
Yeah, it's a musical. They can sing.
And then Hassan, I think not giving Hassan a song is quite possibly the worst part of Bake Off.
There are two bleedingly obvious issues with Bake Off to me. One
Yeah.
is
Number
incredible.
one, Hassan doesn't have a song.
Hassan doesn't have a song. I kept being like, when's he singing a song? Let this man sing a song. Let this man sing a song. Again, his verse in the Bake Off tent, very good.
It's kind of, I feel like my issue with his verse in the Bake Off 10 is that he raps it.
Yeah, that was
And
the
it's
moment where I
such
was
a
like,
dis
oh,
I was like,
lit.
oh,
Oh, someone listened to In the Heights.
yeah. But it's such a distinct sound that it almost sounds like that's got to be his like theme. Like
Yeah.
at some point he's going to rap.
The thing with Bake Off tent is they set up a ton of themes that they don't do a lot with.
Yeah. And either Hassan needed to be able to sing his bit about being British.
Yeah, about what it means to him to be British.
Because, okay, let me look at the actual songs. What could you undoubtedly cut?
I'm really so unpopular here. Can we cut Papa Patois?
Yeah. I think my issue with that is just I don't believe, unfortunately, I do have to agree with that review, but I don't believe in the love story between them.
We got to a point where I was like, this is kind of a waste of time. Can we get back to the jokes? Where's Dazza?
Yeah. I'd rather them just like be friends
Mm.
and like let them have. It's weird because throughout it all, it seems like Francesca and Gemma are going to be the closest friends.
Yeah.
They hang out the most, they talk together a lot. But I think even with that, it would make more sense to just have Ben and Gemma because it's like, what do they say in that review? Bereaved Cara Gemma and bereaved single dad Ben. It would make sense for them to just bond over that and be good friends.
So much of the second act is just consumed by the Gemma and Ben dynamic to the point where I was just like, oh my God, can we please just get somewhere else?
I guess that's because the first act is so good
Yeah.
and it does so much work of being an ensemble show. And it's
Yeah.
like borderline perfect in every sense of it.
Mm-hmm.
To then make the love story at all believable,
Yeah.
the entire second act has to be devoted to it, and that doesn't work. Because
By
then you have
by
this
the
thing where it's the Great British Bake Off musical. It's about the Great British Bake Off show.
yeah.
And during this season that we are supposedly watching, there's a contestant sabotaging everyone else.
Yeah.
And yet you're meant to believe that's not the main plot point of Act Two.
Also, at some point, all of them, including the one who's been carrying out all this sabotage, goes to Blackpool.
Which is crazy.
Did we need to
Like,
go
I
all
think,
the fucking way to Blackpool to hang out with Gemma? No!
yeah. We talk, and to be fair, the Blackpool set is so funny. It is a
Didn't it
single
break?
lamppost.
It
It
broke
did
when
break.
we were
It like
there.
didn't work. It got stuck on the stage. It was great. It is like a single lamppost and a bench. And then
Yeah,
they're like, this is obviously Blackpool.
we're in Blackpool.
And they have like, I think the Blackpool Tower in the background. It's so funny. The only argument I have for keeping in the Blackpool section is how funny the set is for it.
We spent like 5 minutes there though. I was like, we can do 2 minutes here with the set.
Yeah. And then I think we talked about this before. We were like, what would we cut from Act Two? And you were like, oh, we'd probably have to cut I'd Never Be Me Without You. Wrong. Great song.
No, I just re-looked at the set at the track list and I went, no, I'd keep that. The only thing I'd cut off the top, like after looking at it, would actually be Perfect Pretty Flowers, and then I would also cut the Blackpool bit or condense it.
I think the only other thing, and this is purely just because I like Somewhere in the Dough so much more, is I could concede Rise.
See, I would okay, my other big issue with Bake Off is crown a fucking winner.
I get why they do it the way they do when they're like, I guess I'll just have to watch it and find out. I'm like, haha, funny.
I
Fine.
get why they don't, but if you're gonna have Rise, then have Gemma win. It's also implied that she wins anyway.
Like, we kind of guess that she's gonna win.
The second she walked on stage, like she's winning. Just have her win, and that way we can keep Rise. But I don't want to keep Rise if we keep the ending as is. What?
Yeah, I feel like as well, how long was Bake Off? What was the runtime? Like an hour and a half, 2 hours?
It was 2 hours with an interval, 2 hours and a half, two and a half hours with an interval. It's like long.
I feel like the biggest problem is Act Two has so much dialogue and not enough songs.
Yeah, I was looking at it. It is a bit song bare.
Like, I would rather just give. I think the main thing you need to do is definitely give Hassan a song.
Yes.
That is like the main thing.
If I am working on Bake Off 2.0, which I really hope they are because this show is very good.
It's so good. The
I'm
only other
just
issue I have
so
with like the whole thing is the actual finale. I think
oh,
it's kind of cheesy, but in a way, I think that really works.
it does. If something's gonna be cheesy, let it be tonight. It makes me so angry that there was nowhere else where they could take this show to workshop it.
Yeah,
We keep saying, bring it back to the other palace, workshop it there.
like truly, we saw the show in like our peak angriness about Heathers.
Yeah,
I mean, like, it is genuinely infuriating that there was nowhere else for it to go because it should have gone to the other palace for a bit
yeah, and then transferred.
and workshopped there for like 2 months and very quickly, maybe like 6 months, being more realistic.
Yeah,
But workshop it there and then put it on the West End, and it would have been perfect.
it
It would have run for a billion years.
the reason why I'm so passionate about it is because there are the bones of a very good musical within there.
I think for me, and not to bring it back to this, but everything I see fans of Mincemeat saying about Mincemeat
Yes,
is
yes,
exactly what I think about Bake
yes. That's exactly how I feel.
Like,
And we
being like, oh, it's
walked.
this like really funny British culture, like inside jokes, but it's got heart. I'm like, that's just Bake Off
That's
to
just
me.
Bake Off.
Like, to me, that is Bake Off.
We walked out with mincemeat and we're like, oh my God, Bake Off.
Yeah. Like, for me, every good thing I see in Bake Off, I see tenfold in Mincemeat, you know?
Yes,
No,
yeah.
other way around.
Other way
Every
around.
good thing I see in Mincemeat, I see tenfold in Bake Off.
And I wish Bake Off would have had that, the indie theatre circuit for it to come up in.
Yeah, I think what everything Mincemeat did well of like working its way up,
Yeah.
I wish Bake Off had done. And unfortunately, I feel like because the writers had already had some successes,
Yeah, I
they
mean,
felt like they could skip that. Or at
my
least
son,
producers felt like they could skip that.
my son's a queer was the toast of the town at the time.
Yeah. And I feel like in my mind it's more that like Spitlip had an issue getting people or like producers to believe in their show because they've never done anything before, they've never trained anywhere before. So how would they know how to put on a good show? And so that's why they had to go through all the channels and it made them amass this like cult fan base, which is very impressive. Like, I'm not denying that. I feel like with Bake Off, the issue is the producers saw, oh, these writers have done shows before, they've done successful shows before. We'll just put them, we don't have the other palace right now to workshop it or anywhere to workshop it.
Yeah.
Or we don't want to workshop it because it's money to workshop it. Let's
Yeah.
just put it in the Noel Coward and
Yeah.
let it run.
Or maybe it was just that the Noel Coward was available that for a couple of months and so like fuck it, let's just put it in.
Yeah. And it's also, I think, Mincemeat finishes really strongly.
Mm.
And unfortunately, Bake Off finishes really weak.
I don't know if they were in small theatre, they probably could have done this more easily. Have everyone do a ballot in the interval.
Yeah.
Who do they want to win? And just have it be
I
the
think it's
free
not in like a completely ideal world, but what they have done is it's so good. It's so perfectly like funny, but also like it's got heart. And I think a lot of reviewers think they're too good for it, like
The
genuinely.
New York Times were weirdly chill about it.
Yeah.
Well, like, yeah, there are moments where it lags, but overall it's a fun show.
It's
And
like
I
just
agree with
open
that.
your heart.
I just
Just enjoy a little bit of fun and whimsy.
exactly. I think the way I feel about it is the way I should feel. People expect me to feel about mincemeat.
Yeah.
Fucking love Bake Off. Do you have anything more to say?
I genuinely love this show.
Yeah.
Please come back for like one night only, just so I can see it.
Yeah.
I I love this show so much. And I think
I
like I'm
really
not trying to
do.
pretend it's the perfect show.
No,
Like
I
as
have
we just said, there are multiple points where it like lags and could use work.
100%. I agree.
It was like, wasn't one of the writers at your uni to talk about it?
Yeah, no, they came to my uni. I didn't go because I was too hungover to move that day.
But like, Jenny, I wish I could have gone and just been like, do
I
you
have
think you would put this show back on? Do you think you would rework it? Specifically, would you rework Act Two? Because that's the only part that lags, in my opinion.
See, that's also why I didn't go because I would go in and be like, I have notes. Big fans of your
Yeah,
work. I have notes. And I didn't want to be that girl.
yeah. But it is genuinely such a good show if you just let yourself have a little bit of fun.
It's not asking a lot from you, but if you just give it that, then you'll have an amazing time.
Like this idea of trying to pretend that, and maybe it's a thing more predominantly post-pandemic,
Mm.
of this idea of everything has to have a deeper meaning or have some like underlying message.
Guys,
Actually, that Bake Off does have
it,
that, but it's kind of just like, hey guys, believe in yourself and you'll
self-confidence.
be okay.
Don't get me wrong, guys. Fucking love musicals have deeper messages. I could. We've done a 2 hour and a half episode on Hadestown. There's still 10 million things I want to say about Hadestown. I love that musical.
Exactly.
Every day I wake up and there's a new angle to think about Hadestown from. However, at the end of the day, sometimes I just want to watch some knockoff Paul and Prue in a sparkly leotard cartwheeling, you know?
Yeah.
Sometimes I want to think about when will Dazza be back, and that be the most taxing thought on my mind. Anyway, guys, the election is going to be winding down soon, and we need to be on our marks for when that happens.
Yeah. I
I hope.
love the exit poll.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited to see how they like hype it up. They're like, well, the country has decided.
Yeah.
Um,
On
I'm
BBC News, if you ever watch it, they'll like have Big Ben ringing out. That means a clock has struck 10. Here's the exit
we
poll.
have to. I've
And they'll be
named.
like, in collaboration with ITV, Sky News, and
Yes,
YouGov, we asked 30 million voters.
I'm so
Okay, we
excited.
asked 30,000 voters from like 102 constituencies.
Yeah, I can't wait to live in the socialist left wing utopia dystopia that Boris Johnson seems to think we're going to be living in a week.
So excited.
I'm buzzing.
Anyways,
Anyways, Bake Off would release a cast album before the show's run was over. I love it.
listen to this album now.
Guys,
It's incredible.
we can get the streams up.
We can do it.
We can do it. Come on.
I have loved a lot of shows in my life.
I like a flop. I like a niche musical. I've loved a niche musical in my day. However, this is one of my favorite niche musicals.
I need the Great British Baking Musical to achieve Bonnie and Clyde levels of cult following.
Yeah, let's get it started. We can do it. We're on the
I
ground.
need in 10 years,
Mhm.
I need it in like 10 minutes
Yeah.
to gain such a following that they immediately put it on.
I need
I
it
need
to
a concert.
Lambert
I need us
Jackson.
to get free box seats.
Yes.
Lambert Jackson, if you're listening, we have spent a lot of money on your production.
You will put any old shit on the West End in the Palladium.
Frank Wildhorn, if you're here.
Frank Wildhorn.
I know you love a good,
fans of your
concert.
work. I know you love
I
a good
know
flop.
you love a good adaptation.
I know you like a good flop.
Frank Wildhorn endorsed this show right now.
Wildhorn, get on this. Lambert Jackson, why were you doing Bear? You can do this.
Frank Wildhorn, can you ask Jeremy Jordan if he knows how to do a British accent? Because I truly believe we can get him on as Ben.
I might like Ben if they got Jeremy Jordan to play him. No hate to the guy who did. He could sing.
He was a great actor. Like when I was watching it, I was like, I like Ben. This is a good character.
I like Ben.
Second I left, I was like, I hate Ben.
Jeremy Jordan could make me like Ben.
Yeah. Jordan
Laura,
Gage, if you're listening.
Laura Osinus, do you want to make your return to the stage?
Please play Izzy. Learn to do a British accent and then play Izzy.
Do I want Laura as Izzy or Gemma?
You want her as Izzy.
Oh yeah, I do. Who do you want as Gemma?
You want her as Izzy. As Gemma in our All-Star cast, me. No, we have to play the judges. Now, yeah, Jackson, you need to do a concert production, and me and Esme need to be the judges.
Need to be the judges. You guys.
Esme's gonna learn to do a cartwheel for it.
Yeah. I could do a cartwheel, and then I broke my arm, and now I couldn't do one.
Exactly.
But I will be willing to learn. I'll put all of my time and effort into it. Yeah. Anyway.
Please.
Anyway, next week, so we've done very British this week because obviously Jenny Lack, general election.
Yeah,
We are now living in a socialist utopia, per Boris Johnson, and that man's never lied before in his life.
of course.
We're doing in spirit of it technically being the 4th of July, I guess.
Well, we did Oklahoma
We did Oklahoma.
last week,
Yeah,
which was closer to the 4th, which is today.
yeah. You were right on that.
That came out on Monday.
That came out on Monday.
This is coming out on the 8th, which is closer to the 5th, which is the day the results will be out for the general election.
Yeah.
So we're doing a British one.
No, a British one. We might be going back to an American one.
Yeah, because we had it planned in for a while, and then we moved it to work out better.
Yeah. So
because Esme's going abroad.
I'm so excited to go on holiday. I really fucking need a holiday. The shit. Today's my dead dog's birthday.
Oh.
Yeah. Lost some good ones, man.
Can we please bring the Great British Bake Off musical back for Esme's dead dog?
For my dead dog,
it was his favorite musical.
His favorite musical. He hated loud noises or being out of the house too much, but yeah.
But he loved Bake Off.
He loved Bake Off. Yeah, so I'm going to suffer France because of that. We're doing In the Heights.
Shall I explain this now? We'll explain it again next week.
We'll explain it again next week.
We're basically going to do In the Heights and the In the Heights movie. My flatmate might be coming on to talk about it. I don't know yet for sure.
Is he doing the movie or the regular show?
I don't know. He studied the movie for his musicals class.
The movie,
and he loves it. But yeah, so we're gonna do In the Heights the musical and then In the Heights the movie.
Yeah.
On 2 separate weeks. So In the Heights will come out on the 15th. In the Heights movie will come out on the 22nd.
Yes.
But we're recording them at the same time because Esme's on holiday for the week we would record the second one.
Yeah.
So basically, you're going to get no news for the In the Heights movie.
We had an idea of making up our own news stories or predictions.
Yeah, I might just say some shit. I'm going to predict Anastasia is going to the West End. Beetlejuice is going to the West End. Big announcements.
Yeah, so the In the Heights movie, we're gonna come up with some great news stories that are 100% factual. Call us a Broadway bee.
Yeah. We might just make up fake ones. We might just not do a news segment. It depends how funny we're feeling on the day.
It depends on how brain dead I'm feeling.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But yeah, just so you're aware. Then we'll do a big news section on the 29th.
Yes.
To catch up.
Oh my god, and then it's...
Yep.
Times Weird, guys. Massive. A fake national holiday. I'm adding that to the calendar.
Truly. Genuinely, the week after that, the week after the 29th,
yeah,
we're going to do a musical that we have talked about consistently on this podcast. That is genuinely our favourite musical ever.
I'd say it's high up for me. It's one of your favourite musicals of all time.
It is genuinely one of my favourite musicals
to the point
where
love it. Barely anyone knows it. And people would be like, "Oh, Nell's favorite musical is Beetlejuice," or your favorite musical is Beetlejuice, and I'm like, "No,
Phantom."
Phantom. You couldn't.
Incorrect.
Incorrect.
Close. Incorrect.
I would say your top 4 are this one, Phantom, Beetlejuice, and maybe Hadestown.
Yeah.
Yeah. But all of that is to say,
it's ridiculous.
We even have a fake made-up holiday between us two around this musical.
I have a copy of the book the musical is based on that I pull out every year.
It's a holy day to us, and people are like to me, "What are you doing on this day?" And I'm like, "Well, it's this day. I'm hanging out with Nell."
Can we just say what it is?
Yeah, it's Tuck. It's Tuck Everlasting.
It's Tuck Everlasting.
1st of August, mark your calendars. It's Tuck Day. Me and Nell will be doing something.
Yeah. Anyways,
see you guys next week for In the Heights, and then the week after.
Get up those streams on Bake Off. I need it back immediately.
Lambert Jackson, get on it.
And then you can take a break. I don't care what you do within the Heights, but get ready to get the streams up on top because we're bringing it back too.
Yep. Oh, we've got a week before In the Heights, between In the Heights and Tuck, by the way, just so you know.
All right, you can. We've got big plans for this podcast, and it includes getting all of my favorite shows back on the West End, or on the West End for the first time.
What is the point of having a podcast if you can't force your agenda on people?
Exactly. Us and all, 50 of our listeners?
Yeah, 50.
Real ones from where are you from? Phoenix, Arizona,
Utah.
Utah. Big ones in Utah. Big moves in Utah for us.
Utah's now technically our biggest state.
That's where the Jeremy Jordan fans are, as we become aware.
Anyways, shout out to
I'm gonna go
Utah.
watch the exit poll.
I'm so excited. Bye.